Hello, everyone. Welcome again to our new episode of Discovering Digital Creators. For being here with us, Charlotte. It's a pleasure to discuss with you about your artwork and also your career, your new career in the NFT space. So could you tell me more about how and why do you decide to get into digital art?
Yes, sure. First of all, thank you for having me. It's truly an honor to be interviewed by Sniftie. I've been following the work you guys are doing since the start. Seems like a really exciting community to join. And me personally have been a digital artist since a couple of years ago. But it's as a digital artist, it kind of was always a hobby because how can you make any profit out of these things that you create? It just seems like, okay, there is an art world, art market, but for digital artists, it just seems to be like a distant world out there. And then I transitioned myself to a career in design and also became an analog artist in parallel. And NFT is really the opportunity for me to get back in touch with my geeky self, who loved to code and make generative art and illustrate the beauty of nature with coding and videos. So that was a really exciting calling out there. Besides the business side, that I can potentially make a profit out of my digital work. But there's another exciting part of it that is I can continue doing what I'm passionate about. Like they might serve to continue sustain my practice. So yeah, that's a short story.
That's really awesome. So you have been always passionate about art, about creation, technology.
Yeah, very much. I actually come from a background. My bachelor was in physics, and more specifically computational physics, and I found coding, programming it's a creative space in the field, in such a technical field. But I think the way scientists, or in particular physicists, look at nature and how they can create programs and simulations to describe certain aspects of nature that we don't necessarily see with our human eyes. That was something absolutely mind-blowing. And I got into the practice. It was outside of my study. After I finished my course and starting to move my career into design and art, I taught myself to do creative coding. So that was in processing and P5JS, which are the common tools used by artists. So yeah, that was my early practice, which I'm getting back into now.
That sounds good. And how did you find inspiration for your work?
I think in my brain or in my head, I have a storage for ideas. I tend to have a list of things I want to code, or learning how it works mathematically and algorithmically. It takes a lot of time, and if I were checking off my inspiration list, it would probably take up the whole year, because it's also a lot of I guess it was quite a lot of intellectual work, rather than just fully expressing my own emotions. Actually, very little emotions. I my inspirations come from nature in general. So the projects that I had in mind, including simulations of mycelium network, fractals, as well as something combined with portraits. That's also what I'm interested as well, to have like a human touch, not just a pure scientific like simulation that is going to be published on a paper. That's not the aesthetic I am looking for, but something actually touches people emotionally.
That's very interesting. Actually, I interview also an artist, Tess, who also does a lot of fractal art, and that I found that
Mm-hmm.
that was really interesting. So could you tell me more about also about your fractal art and how you do it and the things that.
Yeah, for sure. So fractal is very much how I see the whole world and our daily experiences. I think the concept is not limited to mathematical equations or the very basic fractals that we see in textbooks or Google images about some very psychedelic effects. Like for me personally, I applied the fractal worldview into my analog art as well, because my in my analog art, I'm exploring the element of water, and water is everything about fractals. The way water flow mimics mimics the flow of the universe. So everything that moves, our world, our cosmos is in motion. The wind is motion, but it's invisible. But the motion in water we actually can see, and the water that follows gravity, and it goes in a spiral and goes inwards. These things are completely kind of unexplainable by our by a linear mind, and these are the things I want to capture using my analog art. And this is also a concept a lot of artists were exploring before we could mathematically explain what fractal is. So, so for example, Michael Pollock in his early expressionist work, it was only later on scientists was analyzing his paintings and it was like, oh, there's fractal patterns, but actually, it's just it's nature, and we are nature too, and nature creativity is all inherited. I think artists really has this. It's like the sacredness that you can create the inspiration from nature through your craft. So that's how I see it. Not necessarily like I will have to follow any equations, but the aesthetic point of view, the chaos, the uncapturable is what I want to deliver through my art practice.
And is in and from those series of works with the flow of water, and also from your digital, more digital and experimental work, which one is the one that you feel most proud of, or and you could share more details about it?
For sure. So since I'm really new to the space, I am in the progress of listing my second NFT today. The first one that I posted yesterday was a digital piece made as the second step of an analog painting, which I already sold last year. In a sense that it was the painting itself was a debut of a whole ongoing collection that I'm working on. It's a circular painting, so it was my first circular painting, and now I'm doing everything in circles. Circle is a very special shape for me culturally. In I think not just Chinese culture, but Asian cultures in general, circle is really like the concept of the cosmos, circle of life, everything that circulates itself and regenerate back. So water itself goes in a circle. If you pay attention to water and you see the flow will always go inwards besides going downhill following gravity. So I want to illustrate that with my painting, and I first putting my water in this circular canvas, and then just let the inspiration guide me while creating this painting. So it was originally created in oil, and I this painting was very significant to me, and also is no longer with me, and it's having her own life now somewhere else. So
So
I want to,
did
yeah,
you sell it?
yeah, I did, and it was kind of a memorial for her, and this also is a completely different medium I see. So I don't plan to create any more like just a picture of my analog art. This is, I think, is limiting to me because I have different mediums going on at the same time. So this is really like, so far I envision this is only piece of my analog art that I'm putting up, and it's animated too. So the water is actually moving, and I don't I don't really like tell people that. I just want to get people to trip out. It's like, oh, holy shit, it's moving. It's like moving in such a subtle way. It's like breathing. It's like the ocean is breathing, which is true. Like I know that in my body. Like I know this planet is a giant organism that is living a life and it's breathing, and we're, each one of us is part of this breath. When we breathe, is this planet breathing through us. I know it sounds really trippy, but I really feel it. It's kind of my personal mythology. So that was this piece that is on my foundation profile. Should I go on talk about the second piece I'm working on today, or you have more questions?
It's up to you. It's like if you want to share more about your second piece, just feel free to do it.
Yeah. Okay. The second piece is also a memorial. So far, it's kind of just to get something out there.
But what do you mean a memorial? Is it a memorial for someone in particular, or
And it's a piece that's no longer with me. So this one is like, I think the code is in the hard drive, and it's a self portrait that I made when I was 23, which was, whew, 4 years ago. I was It was in the beginning of, my artist awakening, or artistic awakening, or debut of my true exploration out in the world. And I remember coding this self portrait. It was very dark. Looks like I was defragmented, and then reconstructing myself. Um, I think it really illustrates what was happening at the time, because I was leaving, a safe life journey behind. I went to university. I was supposed to get a job and live a stable life, but I decided, no, I'm going to find something else. I went to meditate. I went, I partied, and I, just made a lot of mistakes, and while exploring my own truth and realities. It was also the year I told myself, okay, just go out there, make all the mistakes, because I have been like a good student all my life, and I needed like a break like that. So that was a year that also led me to a lot of people that changed my life forever since. And this is a story to tell. So I try to tell the story from with every piece through my own work. Even though this is a personal story, it might resonate with someone who hasn't stepped out and down the self exploration yet, and they might just plant that seed in someone. So this is the second piece that I'm releasing today.
that's really interesting. Like, yeah, I look forward to see your new piece on Foundation.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so could you tell me more about how do you see yourself in the future? Where do you want to be in the future as an artist?
Definitely. Thank you for asking this question. I see myself as water. To be less abstract, I'm bridging a lot of worlds that seemingly separate. It's like we imagine, oh, Europe and Canada, US, they're like different continents. We're separated, but we're actually connected in a way. It's the ocean that connects us all. Just imagine if there's no water, it would just be like, whoa, like really, really deep mountains. I mean, it doesn't make sense. We're all connected and we're neighbors around this giant pool of water. And I see myself being this bridge to a lot of worlds, including science and technology, art, and humanities. And today, I'm currently going through a quite intense integration process because I took a long time away from the science and technology because I needed my time to get back to the ground, and I did a lot of analog art and all of that. And I felt like this is really the time for me to bring this new insights to the world and using science and using technology to create more meaningful pieces to communicate my message. And I also see myself being in the research space more. So something to move along with my physical practice. It's a great harmonious integration of research and practice would be ideally where I want to be. And not to mention that I also come from a very diverse cultural background, born raised in China, immigrated to Canada, and then educated in the UK and Switzerland. I felt like a lot of these different worlds are emerging as well, and hopefully through my work, people can see the similarities and the very fundamental essence we all share, rather than labels of differences that seemingly separated us in our cultures. Does that answer your question,
Yeah,
Stephanie?
sure. No, yeah, that's really interesting, and the fact that you're saying that you want to explore something that combines both technology, art, and also your physics practice will be more in the science and the research. I think is really exciting. I mean, I really like that kind of work because it really creates something that is unique and special, instead of like just being an image or just for the sake of the image, but it's something beyond that. There is a story behind it.
Yeah.
There's the research, and that's what,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion, does powerful art.
Thank you. Let's
So,
hope.
yeah, so that's really great. And also, do you plan also to collaborate with other people? Do you have any collaborations in the pipeline?
I definitely do. Not so much yet in the NFT space because I'm just stepping in. I have planned to do more work in the VR space, creating. Yeah, it just felt like stepping into a new reality in VR. So it's all really exciting for me, and that is sort of a collaboration right now because I don't have my own headset and machines. But moreover, I'm also branching out my practice in the performance, and that is definitely a collaborating space, very open. So currently I'm applying to residency and performance opportunities, and that in a form is collaboration with filmmakers and some art directors in a way. And as COVID restrictions still in the way in Canada, more likely the performance experience will be filmed and presented later to the audience in camera, as camera forms. And also I do a lot of these performance work in nature. It would be complicated to move people out of the city all at once. So we'll see how this is playing out. And and I'm also currently a resident at the Water Institute, Water Initiative at the Graduate Institute in Geneva, which is a group of people who researchers focusing on water governance and water politics. And this is really giving me a lot of insights on seeing the whole world and sustainability and development through the lens of water, which is so fundamental to life. So this collaboration had really helped me to elevate my art to something much bigger. And I really hope to continue to do such collaborations.
And also, tell me about how do you manage also the communication side of art, and if you have also any recommendations for other artists or people also getting into the NFT space.
Yeah. In particular, is your question about communication in NFT or in general?
In general, in both, in general, and also in NFTs.
Yeah, I think in general, from my own experience, I'd like to say that it takes time. Most of the artists, including myself, are doing the practice without understanding. There's just no reason for it. We just do it. And slowly we develop the language to communicate why we're doing this, and getting, chatting with others who might, you think, have the vocabularies for that and who can understand you is very, very beneficial. And I personally have got a lot of help from a reading group that I joined. We did a lot of readings in critical theories and feminist theories, and from that I picked up a lot of vocabularies, but also from other artists who see my work and who I didn't have a professional art education, which means I had to pick up all these skills on the way, including exploring my practice. And it takes time, and it's okay. And I believe that a lot of artists out there are walking through the same experience. So I'd say don't be afraid to ask for help, and be gentle with yourself. Take the time. And me, also, I was using Instagram a lot over the past year to communicate myself, just like experimenting with it and not be ashamed of it. I use that as my personal gallery. Sometimes I just feel like writing, and I wrote a small piece. And later on, I was writing longer blog posts for others and for my own blog. Writing is a very, very great way to get the ideas out. Just massage the ideas and then to become something, and you feel like you've sorted out some stuff, and then more questions will come to you on your next writing. So that's my advice. On the NFT, I try to communicate the same way in the descriptions. However, I would need more advice from other artists too, and I'm not shying away from asking my questions to artists who are more established.
That's definitely the way to go. Also, the NFT community is so open and so and so kind that you will find lots of people who will be willing to help also along the way. Especially this is a new space also for many artists. There are many more that are coming into this space. So, yeah.
For sure, it's really exciting.
Cool. Thank you very much, Charlotte. It was a pleasure to discuss with you. How do we do if we want to follow you?
My Instagram handle is QinTheory. Qin is my last name. It's QIN, Q without a U behind. So QinTheory.studio. And my other handles are on Facebook, Twitter, they're just Qin Theory.
Thank you so much for listening. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on Twitter at Sniftie.